set. I'd like to open up this town council meeting for October 3rd. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item, Twyla.
Is roll call. Counselor Albert?
Here.
Counselor Colby? Here. Counselor Crawford?
Here.
Counselor Lunt?
Here.
Counselor Ward?
Here.
Counselor Crafts?
Here.
Counselor Brunel?
Here.
Next item.
Under good news and recognition.
I would like to recognize my people in the front row. I had the pleasure of actually meeting with the second-year Weeblo's Den from PAC 109. They were fulfilling a citizenship in the community requirement, having to interview a public leader. Your pickings are slim, but you know what I'll actually call. So thank you guys for coming, and anybody would like to speak into the microphone, Jacob, go right ahead.
Thank you. No, thank you.
No?
No, thank you.
Thank you guys all for coming, very much. If you'd like to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome, but I would take the door.
Counselor Ward.
Welcome, guys. Have fun. Get out of here.
Thank you.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Yes, sir.
Not good news, but Roger Bickford. Not good news, but I do want to recognize emergency services. For the last 3 weeks, they've been pretty busy. One with Gina Mason, and just last Saturday with my next door neighbor. And I really saw how fast they responded, how they really tried to make a difference, and they couldn't. But I think sometimes we forget about this, what they do, and I want to recognize them.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Good news or recognition? Seeing none, moving on, Twyla.
Next item is the public hearings, a special entertainment permit for the Left Hand Club.
I'll open the public hearing. Anybody wanting to speak to the... Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
The next public hearing is for a victuals license for Christina Amaya, doing business as Chris's House.
Anybody wanting to speak on behalf of this? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing as well.
And the next public hearing is the ordinance amendment to Chapter 70, zoning ordinance, Article 1 in general, Section 70-7 amendment.
This is the waiver of the fee in a couple of different spots.
It's a 30-day notice.
No, I'm sorry. Thank you, Don. I see you nodding. Anybody wanting to speak on behalf of this, I'll open the public hearing. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Next item.
Is under audience participation and response for agenda items.
Anybody wishing to address the council, please come on up.
Carol Curtis, and I represent the Riverside Snowmobile Club. And what we're looking for is to buy a new machine for dragging. And we have a quote already from Woody's Performance Center, $8,598 out the door. No tax, and it's, I guess that's it. Garrett Pressett's Trailmaster. We have 18 miles of trails, pretty close to it. 9 bridges we have to fix every once in a while. And, you know, this unit would be nice for us.
Can I ask a question why it's coming before us? Is it on the agenda?
The first reading for the ATV.
Okay.
This is a snowmobile. the snowmobile club.
Yeah, I think
has-
these are two
they
different
collect
things.
excise-
Yeah, these are two
collect
different.
excise tax.
Well, so I think what we're confused about, Mr. Curtis, is that there's also something on our agenda about ATV snowmobile trails, but I think your ask is a little bit different than that.
Oh,
Are you
yeah.
requesting money from the town
Yeah.
for that machine to drag those trails? Normally, stuff like that would, I don't want to speak out of turn, I'll let you, Twyla, if we get, that stuff gets sent in to the town manager, so the town manager can then put it on our docket. So I'm not saying we wouldn't entertain that, I'm just saying that, do we want, can we do that? I'm not familiar.
You can put it on your next agenda if
Can
you're
can we
interested.
put it on the next agenda? Okay.
Could you,
You need some material, though, from
Yeah.
them.
yeah,
Sure.
exactly. What I was gonna say is, could you please get with Twyla or associated with that so we can actually see it before us and know what you're actually talking about specifically?
Yeah,
If you give us the paperwork on it.
yeah, I
Yep.
do.
Yep. If you could provide that to Twyla, we'll actually take that up.
While
Absolutely.
we have you right here, is this the first time the club's asked, because I'm not familiar with, no? Okay, good. Okay.
It will come out of where am I here, recreational land use account,
Okay.
which has about 13,000 in it, so
Thank you. That helps clarify more for me.
Okay.
That's what I was looking for.
didn't get that in there yet.
No, that's,
Now you caught
We
our
cut you
attention.
off,
'cause
sorry.
we're like, why is it coming here? So,
Yeah.
by all means.
it's all adding up to us now, but we'll get you on the next one. Thanks for coming out tonight, sorry.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Anybody else? Seeing none? Next item, Twyla.
The next item is the consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have an item removed may do so now. Order 2017-249, to approve the municipal accounts payable and payroll warrants, number 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. The school accounts payable and payroll warrants 1016, 1017, 1806, and number 8, along with the workshop minutes of September 12 and the regular minutes of September 19. And a renewal liquor license and special entertainment permit for the Left Hand Club, and a new vitulers license for Christina Maya doing business as Chris's House, plus to authorize the town manager to sign the annual Seniors Plus memo of understanding.
I need a motion. I heard him.
Second. Second.
Well, my question was, I see that number 6 and number 36 and number 37 don't even have a number next to them.
Right.
You see that?
Yeah.
All right, so before you say,
Do we have numbers for those?
I'm not sure that you can say yes to something that you don't even have a
Yeah,
number
blank
on.
check.
Right.
Blank check?
I mean,
Second.
I know we're pretty liberal around here, but I think that's a, yeah.
Yeah, she gave me 38 and 39, no, 39 and 40 today. I wonder if that was
That would've
probably
been
36
last
and
week's
37.
payroll.
It was.
I'm just saying there should be a number beside them too
There's
before we all
35
raise
and
our hands, that's all.
38. Oh, you know what those are, the ATV, aren't those the ones for the inland fisheries and the smaller reports, right?
No, I think, I don't see the payroll on here from last week.
Is that what this one is?
Who has those numbers?
Wait, Lydia, can you get us the payroll warrant amounts for 36 and 37?
We're gonna need one.
I'm sure that's probably what that is.
We're gonna need one for 39 and 42.
I have that.
That's on.
I was on here
the-
at 39 and
Updated
40 on the
version.
other one.
Ah, I'm looking at the wrong one.
Thank you, Lydia. We'll get back to that. Can we
Yep, next.
go out of order?
Fix
We'll
that.
come back, circle back to that one. Next item, Twyla.
Is under council orders, ordinances, and resolutions, order 2017-250, the Pinewood Sewer Project bid award.
This is the one that we entertained coming in late to be able to get the information to be presented tonight. It came in this morning. You have it on the council desks in front of you.
Brian Layton, Public Works Director. I guess what I'd like to do is just summarize Mandy Oliver's letter. Basically, that she summarized all the bids we received. We received bids from 5 contractors with 2 alternatives. One to do sewer main replacements and repairs this fall. Only 2 of the 5 contractors bid. Genren and Genren bid $195,000, and COP Excavation bid $264,212. We did receive 5 bids to do the work in the spring, and much like we anticipated, the prices are considerably more attractive. ETTI bid $128,170. St. Laurent and Son, $133,627. Crooker, $151,114, and Gendron and Gendron, $165,000. And finally, Cop Excavation at $243,712. We had quite a bit of discussions after we received the bids. Our number one option would be to go in the spring and do the repairs. We preface that by saying we did have a malfunction out there earlier this year. There are the concerns that we may have further issues throughout the winter. And with DEP looking closely over our shoulder, that's where our apprehension comes in. We discussed a couple different alternatives. One of them would be to actually make some cost-effective point repairs inside the pipe in the areas where the video showed some exposed soil, meaning the pipe is actually missing. Those we've done in the past in a number of locations. They tend to hold up very well. They're about $2,200 a piece to do those, which still, even if we spent $4,000 or $5,000 this fall,
It's going to be dug up in the spring.
it'll be dug up in the spring, but we will be saving this $60,000
Right.
in total. So I mean, it's kind of what we were trying to play with, the benefit of saving Mandy summarized $66,829
Right.
by going in the spring versus doing it right now. And to be quite honest, when we had the malfunction, it was a $4,000 repair. So the biggest unknown is DEP and what their input would be. At this point, we feel going to them with a plan of doing a couple point repairs in the areas that are the worst, to give us a better opportunity to not have any issues throughout the winter, and then attack this in the spring is, I think, the approach that we'd like to take. But we need input from you folks.
Have we used the patches before as a stopgap to get us this same scenario?
We've done them in areas throughout town. Some of them, the first one we did was 12 or 13 years ago. I mean,
And still
they're
holding
a
up?
they are a long-term solution as well as a short-term Band-Aid in this situation. So we've had multiple. We were going back through the list to see, what they average, because they all vary based on the size of the pipe and location and yada, yada, yada. And looking back through the list of the ones that we've done, there's more significant than we just remembered offhand, so.
So these Band-Aids aren't over really large gaps of pipe that are missing and it's a rolling of the dice. These are kind of standard traditional patches that you've done. I'm just trying to get a gauge.
Point repairs is the terminology that they use when we talk about it. We did one right on Route 196 by the intersection with Mill Street that we did. I think that was probably our most recent one. So we've done them in multiple locations, and they do what they're supposed to do.
Even if we had a rough winter, an extremely difficult winter, the reality is less likely that these are going to fail.
Well, and quite honestly, we found the issue during our annual sewer cleaning, and it was the result of doing the high-pressure cleaning. So we feel that the regular flow isn't necessarily the issue in general, but anything can happen. And
Right.
again, with
Right.
the history, we're better off just, I think, doing our due diligence this fall, but being able to save the money and utilize that somewhere else in the system.
Funding from this is from the sewer reserve?
Current sewer budget, we had budgeted $190,000 to design and install a dumping station at the transfer station, at the treatment plant. That's an item that's been on the list for a while. That's something we'll be able to put on hold to be able to fund this out of the current budget without really any impacts at this point.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, it didn't make this budget cycle because the issue presented itself after the budget, right?
Correct.
So you would use funds from a different project that would ultimately come back next January.
Right. And we also, we've got, the big picture.
Right.
With the bond referendum and whatnot, we'd have some flexibility of maybe adding some of these projects back in, depending on where all the money ends, based on identifying the treatment plant as a location to work on. We may be able to do some of this work at the treatment plant at a later date from a different funding source if everything works out
Right.
well.
Any other questions of Ryan? You heard his recommendation. The recommendation is empower him to be able to make spot repairs to award it to ETTI for spring work.
And save 60K.
On paper, if it floats.
Yeah.
Maybe
Is
a
there any
little
idea
less.
of, I'm sorry,
Maybe a little, as he said, 60 grand. It may be a little less, depending on how many patches he has to make, but
Right.
we don't foresee him making $66,000 worth of patches over the winter.
We'll be back if that's.
yeah, that's
You know what I mean? Therein lies the big picture, right?
We intend to have, we have actually scheduled the contractor to come in and camera the line again, to get a full picture of exactly how many locations and so they can finalize what their estimate is. I mean, we got some ballpark numbers over the phone. Their availability is right away. I mean, they said they were able to move in as early as Thursday and make the repairs if that was.
So the
Where
ones that
we're
are
at.
cameraing it, it's the ones that are actually, so they can task order specific based on what
Would
they
that be
find.
Ted Berry or?
That's what I assume too. Mr. Crawford, is there anything you had a
my question was answered.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, sir. Next item, Twyla.
Order 2017-251, the pickup bid award for Public Works Department.
Back again, Bad Penny. Found a used pickup truck that would meet our needs at this point. Configuration is a little bit different than what we've been searching for. And it is $1,000 over what we budgeted. However, I feel that we can make up the difference in our existing budget if the council approves us to move forward with the purchase of this vehicle.
You hit the two criteria when we empowered you to be able to go out and do this, so I have no issue with what you found for the purchase, because you've had your mechanics already go through it and work with the source. Any questions of Ryan? You saw the pictures, you saw the bid and stuff, guys, in your packets. Anyone?
I make the motion.
I'm just-
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Order passed
Thank you,
7-0.
Mr. Brunel.
Appreciate it.
You ready to circle back?
Cool.
Do you have Chris's numbers for 36 and 37?
37?
Yep, we are getting them from Lydia.
Got 'em.
Number 30.
36 and 37 are payroll warrants. The first one's for $119,075.51. Warrant number 37 is for $12,988.27. And warrant 39 is an AP warrant for $868,056.18.
Yep, that one's on there.
Thank you
Good.
very much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lydia. I had a spec first, I had a second.
Yes, Chris and Norm.
All in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Thank you. Resume play.
Okay, so order 2017-252, an ordinance amendment to Chapter 70 zoning ordinance, Article 1 in general, Section 70-7 amendment. Final reading, roll call vote is required.
This is the item that actually removes that 30-day period that we, any questions that haven't already been vetted? I'll entertain a motion if you guys are comfortable.
I think we could do roll.
His roll call, you still have to make a
Right,
motion and
right.
second it up.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
There we go. Now roll call.
All right, Counselor Colby,
Yes.
Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
Counselor Lunt,
Yes.
Counselor Albert,
Yes.
Counselor Crawford,
Yes.
Counselor Crofts,
Yes.
and Counselor Ward.
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays, order passed.
Thank you, Twyla. Next item?
Order 2017-253, the ATV ordinance. This is first reading. A roll call vote is required.
Okay. Who's presenting this one, guys? If not, come on down, Mr. Bigford.
Come on down. Holy cow.
You were the chair and co-chair of the committee, so.
Only because
Strange bedfellows?
we didn't speak up fast enough.
Literally,
Anyway,
right. Everybody step back.
Yeah, the ATV ordinance is, you've got it in front of you. And the purpose of the ordinance is to authorize the operation of ATVs on designated roadways or public ways within the town of Lisbon. There was an ordinance, still is an ordinance that gives some access, but it's woefully out of date, and this ordinance was written using Holton as a model and also state guidelines, and the committee consisted of, well, you know who it consisted of, Roger and,
Code enforcement, police chief,
yeah.
and Scott. Scott, and a few others. Scott Hall, right?
Scott and, Mr. Tapley.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah. So, after a lot of discussion, the penalties were put in there, the speed limit was determined, the proper authorization, driver's licenses for under low age, and things like that. So, you could probably, Roger can answer questions
Yeah.
better than I can, probably.
After talking with the police chief in Mexico, and I had come up with this ordinance about the driver's licenses for 16 and 17-year-olds. Maine state law says that if you take a safety course and when you turn 16, you don't need a driver's license. You don't need anybody. You can drive alone. But on our town highways, you gotta have a driver's license. Or be with a person that's 21 years old. Not 18, you can't go out with your 18-year-old brother. You gotta be 21, that's state law. And, I wanna put that in because that particular chief said that he wished he'd have thought of it. And, we've got the the state law says trails can be open May 15th. But for our trails, it's gonna be June 1st, October 31st, and a lot of it, if Bowden does it, they're gonna do the same thing because of hunting. And everything else is basically, well, like Don said, a lot of it's state law, but there was a lot of discussion on it, and I did get one in, one of the main things that, and I thought this should be put in, was, after every season, the town manager and either the police chief or Ryan and a member of the ATV club will sit down in December or whenever they wanna do it and discuss any complaints. And that will give the head of the ATV club, the president or whatever, a chance to go out, smooth everything over. And if they can't get it smoothed over, then it'll come back to council and we will decide if it's gonna be done. That gives the public more input. And a lot of times the public, after it happens, they say, well, it ain't gonna do me any good. If I make a complaint and it doesn't, no one hears me. That's not true. It's gonna be heard. And a lot of times, it can be done real quick. You know, if there's a complaint come in, it can be taken care of. We've had this in Topsom, and we've also had problems in Topsom where we weren't fast enough and we lost access. So it's gotta be, but every year, the town should look it over.
Okay.
And other than that, then it basically it's all state. And, Dennis said if you had a problem, as far as I know, people aren't gonna be going up and down Pleasant Street.
Right, point I'm making there is the fact is, unless the area that's actually spelled out in here, they're not allowed on the road to begin with,
Right.
period. And that was the point that I was making
Now,
in that
you have-
regard.
You have to remember, because you're down on Pleasant Street, state law gives, if you've got a access trail, state law gives you 1,500 feet. So if a guy lives, let's say.
Right.
You get 1,500 feet. So most of the park, Houston Park, you can get to the trailhead. And that's state law, that's all over the, so they have usually, but it's not the idea that, you can ride
The entire
700
length
feet
of
down the
Pleasant
road, pick up
Street,
your buddy,
right,
and everybody goes back up.
because they're clearly past the 10-mile zone. The fact is, I can hear them ramping up. It is a thoroughfare.
That's why there's a couple of places on this, on the road ordinance that we didn't need to put on here, because from the trailhead.
Right.
Trailhead is less than 1,500 feet.
Okay.
So it's,
That portion that Roger's talking about is 250, 263 down on number 4, gives you the, gives the inspection and the time to hear complaints and air them and go over the trail and see that the signs are right and that sort of thing.
And most of the signage is up to the club.
Right. It's clearly spelled out.
When the signs get put up, let's say on 196, or anywhere on the town roads, it's gonna go through Ryan. And
Yep.
we discussed that, it's not in there, but we discussed that, he's gonna approve it.
I think it is referred to in there. I think I did direct it to Ryan.
That's
read that.
That's gonna happen.
Right.
And that they won't be allowed on the trails until he has the signage.
Okay. The question that came to me, and I know I'm overthinking it, what are the police actually serving for violations? Is it speeding? Is it past the time frame? Is it not in the area? What does that come in?
Right here.
I didn't know I was gonna speak. Bill Tapley,
Sure
Detective
you
Sergeant
did.
at the PD.
You did a fine job.
We're gonna hand out, town ordinance violations on, USAC, which I'll have to go to court and prosecute. I think the ordinance says the first one's gonna be a warning, and there's subsequent violations of 50, 100, and 200, which wasn't from the PD, but from what the committee wanted. We have, as of, this week, created a ATV call in case there's any problems. So when you come back in December, you can, we can research our database, give you a list of how many ATV violations. But to what Mr. Ward said about other ATV violations, that's always gonna happen. I mean, they happen every day. Kid gets like, sure, when you were a kid, you were out riding on the streets, right? Mr. Brown?
Absolutely.
So it's always gonna happen, but that's, we keep track.
Outside of this, but it isn't related to what we're talking here that will be reviewed on the annual basis, which, right.
So we
Okay.
still have ways to track that, but we're gonna specifically track any violation to do with, this ordinance and the access roads.
Okay.
So I don't think there should be any issues.
What we have before us is something that the entire committee was in favor of, from the gamut of people that were put with you guys? Okay,
Yes. It was unanimous.
good.
Good.
Any other questions that I'm not?
I just want to make sure that, I read this earlier and, where it was 18 years and older, and I know you just said you wanted to kind of back it down to 16 years old as long as they had a 21-year-old.
You can ride, like if your son was, or well, a daughter was
Yep.
16 and took the ATV safety course. After she's 16, then she can ride the trails by herself.
Right.
She can ride the trails as long as they're on private, other people. But once she goes on public roads, she has to have, in the town of Lisbon, she has to have a driver's license, 16 and 17. We didn't bother with the 18-year-olds. They can go into service. They're entitled to do it.
Okay. All right, and that language is in, I guess I missed that. Okay, I missed that.
But a
That's fine.
16-year-old can run the road, can go on the road if he's accompanied by a 21-year-old
That's
adult.
Okay, good. Perfect. That's what I thought you heard. I just wanted to hear it again, make sure I was right.
I wanted, when we did the ordinance, I wanted the people in town, because they can get hesitant, I wanted the people in town to have a good course.
Makes sense to me.
I also know what I was like when I was 16. That's a long time ago, but.
Just a reminder, the whole thing is posted with signs and speed limits and all of that, requirements on the access routes. And the only access route I can think of that the public might see often is
196.
196 and not Upland Road. So,
What's the ridership on the trails that's not club membership right now? Because from day one, I don't think the issue is going to come from the club. I think it's going to come from outside.
Yeah, I know all the clubs, like Thompson, if this ordinance goes through, we are gonna connect through the borough. And we'll be connected, but Thompson has got 80 members. How many members do you have? I think probably.
So is there more ridership that aren't members?
Club has up there that ride the ATVs?
Probably 10 to 12.
Okay. And everybody's gonna have to do their own patrolling. We have to patrol ourselves.
I guess the reason I'm asking the question is the fact that it's gonna go in that file that Bill and the PD are actually going to have to maintain. You guys are gonna have to actually comply for something that's outside the membership that actually could be on this trail.
Yeah. Because anybody who, you know. the
Because you're
club maintain-
responsible for all of it.
Right,
Because,
the club is responsible for all of it. This is the way it is in Topsom, we have to patrol,
Right.
and maintain and, you know,
enforce
take the blame.
the rules of ridership for everybody, membership or not.
The issue where it's gonna come into play is that 196 going, like Extramark, we talked about parking and, going to talk to,
Right.
like, McDonald's area, parking and where they can park. Cause that's gonna be the issue, is people at rush hour trying to come up 196 westbound with ATV traffic going both ways. So I'm not sure, is that ATV gonna be just one side of the road, or is it?
No, it's both sides.
So it's gonna be both
yeah.
sides, so it's gonna go with the flow of traffic, so
Flow of
that,
traffic.
that's gonna be the only place I see an issue.
Potential problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Much of 196 anyway.
No, it's not. I've seen it, it's, you know, other towns handle it fairly well, so. Basically, most of your ATV riders have licenses and, you know, everybody just
Right.
obeys the law and does what they're supposed to do.
In certain parts of the state, it's big money.
Yeah.
The fact
Well,
is,
I'm
they're
hoping with
a
the
huge
railroad,
area.
If we ever get the railroad bid, it'll start being a little bit more money to us too.
Right.
It is only the first rating.
Yes, exactly. Moving right
I'll
along.
entertain a motion, Mr.
I'll make the
Brunel.
motion.
Second.
It's gonna be a roll call vote.
Yes, it is. Are you ready? Counselor Ward?
Yes.
Counselor Crafts?
Yes.
Counselor Crawford?
Yes.
Counselor Albert?
Yes.
Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
And Counselor Brunel?
Yes.
And Counselor Kobe?
Yes.
7 yeses, 0 nays, order passed.
Yeah, I have a question. Has this been reviewed by the lawyer
Yes,
yet?
it has.
Oh, it has. Okay, good. Excellent.
Yes, sir.
Next week, public hearing,
Yes.
I'll make sure that it's colored map, more,
I love that idea. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. I appreciate your commitment to that. Thank you.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2017-254, the GA ordinance amendments. The first reading roll call vote required.
This is an annual adoption process where we have to adopt the GA maximums, and it has to go through public hearing. Judy will be at the next meeting if you have any questions.
No issue with content. It's something that comes before us.
I went through it.
Every year.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion.
Second.
Second.
You're up.
Counselor Colby?
Yes.
Counselor Brunel?
Yes.
Counselor Lunt?
Yes.
Counselor Ward?
Yes.
Counselor Crafts?
Yes.
Counselor Crawford?
Yes.
And Counselor Albert?
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays, order passed.
Next item.
Order 2017-255, vault shelving removal and transfer boxes to and from off-site storage facility.
Where is that? That's 15 miles away.
We are looking at the climate-controlled facility in Topsom. It's located in the Topsom Fair Mall on the left, down by Goodwill. And so before installing the new roll of shelving, we have to remove the existing shelves inside. And we asked them if they would give us a quote to remove those shelving. And then we realized we have no on-site storage here for 500 boxes. And so we are in the process of labeling the ones that we feel are confidential. We'll probably put them in a room and lock them up here. And our intention is not to have to take them to Topsom unless we run out of room here. They have given us a quote to do that work at $3,100. We had budgeted $30,000, so the bid came to $22,720, so we have enough money left over.
To be able to do the incidental
this.
work and make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, they are used to removing the boxes. They'll be organized, and they systematically put them back on their shelves, which I feel we lack that skill. So it'll
Okay.
be important for us
Okay.
to do this.
So Twyla says yay.
Any other questions of Twyla?
I'll make
Just-
a motion.
I'll second.
Go ahead. Norman has something to say.
Yeah. Just for, due diligence, so if anybody's listening, they understand. If we were to have to take this on our own, it would require quite a bit of man-hours that we didn't already account for and take us away from our regular roles and responsibilities. So that's why it's more beneficial for us to go ahead and make this investment.
And we did look at that as well, so we didn't
Yep.
bypass that. We did explore it.
Just kind of wanted to reinforce what you had said. They're skilled, they understand how to do this efficiently and in a way that's not going to interrupt our workflow here.
By the work truck and then.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Thank you. That's all.
All in favor?
Order passed 7-0.
Thank you,
Next-
Twyla.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2017-256, set workshop date to discuss disaster recovery.
I spoke to Lisa Ward about this, because I know this is something you wanted to do
Yep.
at some point. And now that everybody has had the NIMS training, we can go ahead and do it. She's available any Tuesday night, and she said it probably wouldn't take more than 45 minutes.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to do it,
Can we do it at 6?
yeah, if you want to do it at 6 on the next council meeting.
You can't
Can
the
we?
next council,
I
because
thought
we're
it
Yeah,
I looked- I
yeah,
thought
we
it
have
looked
the
small.
candidate.
The candidates.
Class till
Committee.
6:30 every Tuesday.
So it's-
So we could do it,
We would do it next Tuesday, just so we wouldn't have a meeting.
Wouldn't it be a good idea to push it out when a new council comes on? Or bad
well,
idea?
then it goes right back to the fact that we wouldn't have somebody that's trained.
Yeah, good point.
So that's
Yeah,
what.
okay. No, yeah, make
we
that-
do it in November.
you want to do it November 7th?
Yeah.
That's an election night.
Oh.
Yeah,
Discuss whether you were moving that election.
I think we probably should.
Move it to the following Tuesday, for instance, or
The
something.
14th?
The council meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't.
Yeah.
And that would fit on there. and
So we'd have to back to back.
six.
We do the 14th and the
And
21st.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do the 28th because I want to be full of turkey and not really wanting to do this.
On a
So-
Tuesday? That's a bad week, man.
Leftovers.
We're eating, I was gonna say, we're eating the bird on the 23rd, so there'll be plenty of turkey sandwiches in
Okay,
my
I see.
future.
6 PM on the 14th then?
Yep.
And then reschedule the council meeting from the 7th to the 14th?
Right.
Okay.
Knowing fully well, I just put the boots to one of us counselors because he has he has
All right.
he has a 6 o'clock conflict already, so he'll join us when he can get
Okay,
here.
yep.
Okay. Next item, 12.
Order 2017-257, the business directory sign.
Good evening. Does everyone know what this is about? Okay. Well, here's the picture of the sign. And I remember when this sign was put out, Dan Feeney had this great idea, and they were beautiful at the time and wonderful, and now they're either outdated or it's just decrepit looking, and it's one of the first things that is visible in our town. So with all the improvements that we're considering doing with the Lisbon Development Committee and that strip of road over there on 196, I think it behooves us to take it down. We can work on either a new sign with the committees or just leave it down for now, depending on what we're going to do over there in that area. So if it's okay, if we could get help with maybe Public Works to tear it down, or I could do it, I'm sure I could get help. So I just need permission. I went around, by the way, and I went and personally got signatures from all the businesses on there. Even though we haven't paid for that in several years, I'm on it, and I haven't paid the $200 probably in 10 years now. So we really didn't need to go this far probably, but we just wanted to be safe and do the right thing. So that's what it's all about.
So is it a correct assumption on our part that don't know the evolution to getting it to here? Is the fact is the people that are actually on this sign paid for its installation?
No, the town, I believe, paid for it, but we all paid $200 for the little strips that you get here and put it on.
Okay.
So we want to take it out as opposed to rehabbing it and bringing it?
Yes.
Okay,
It's beyond that,
that'd be okay.
yeah. And I'm willing to do a fundraiser or whatever it is. We don't really know exactly the outcome after this, but it will be a good one. It's better to not have it at this point than to have that there.
I don't see it being a hardship to actually pull it out. Am I getting somebody in the left-hand rear corner actually nodding on that one, Ryan? If we paid to install it, I don't see that it actually makes sense to actually have somebody else to actually pull it out, is my point. Right. I think the unfortunate thing is the fact that whether it be trees on School Street or everything else, we pay for things to go into this community, then they actually pull them out. The fact is, what,
Nothing lasts
Just that-
forever.
That's true.
I understand that, but then we actually come right back and we're actually doing it again with actually talking about putting trees in other certain areas and, or signage and that kind of stuff, and it's a vicious cycle. You pay for it, and the fact is, the trees grow up into the tree line, and the next thing you know, you're cutting the damn trees down.
Well, as far as signs go, they have to be replaced. I've had mine replaced before.
I'm not, it's
Okay.
just another perfect example, is the fact is, we expend funds and don't think of the long term associated with that. And the reason I'm not pushing on this is because local businesses actually sponsored this sign, so it is an indication on yours. I completely agree with you. So I would make the motion.
I'll
I'd
second.
have Ryan pull this sign out. All in favor? Thank you.
We're past 7-0.
Can I say yay? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing all the work.
Next. Nice. Next item, Twyla.
Order-
She'll take care of Ryan later. I'm confident on that one.
Order 2017-258, the change town office hours.
You guys have seen a couple of different versions of it. The current one is in your packet and on the tables here tonight. It's a discussion that's been kicked around a couple of times, most recently with the budget discussion. And I think looking at the evolution of how we got to this point, going from a 5-day week to a 4-day week, and running the risk of actually doing the reciprocal to undo it, I'm okay with actually having a discussion tonight to be able to allow more time to be able to make an informed decision, knowing that Diane has provided us a December 1st timeframe for targeting to implement. So if you guys are interested in vetting and asking loaded questions, I would just have a discussion tonight if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That said, go ahead and pitch it off. It's
I'm gonna let Lydia pitch it off.
walk of
She
shame.
did all the work
Walk
on
of
it,
shame.
so.
Walk of shame.
Good evening. So, yeah, it's come about from,
Who are you?
I am Lydia, the finance director. Okay. So this has actually come about from a lot of informal conversations with employees and residents that have complained that we don't have hours on Fridays. And this is kind of the result of blending the needs of everybody and trying to compromise with that. Obviously, it's malleable and able to be worked as need be, but this seemed to be, after a lot of discussion with Diane and other department heads, the most feasible compromise to them. What kind of questions do you have?
Do the departments buy in to
We had a
reverting
department
back?
head meeting, and there were no oppositions to it.
For what reasons going back? You have, I know you cite in your letter,
Mhm.
Specific staffing with daycare issues and, a couple of those, but what are the department heads saying to be able to go back?
To be able to go back to a
Right.
5 days, most of them were receptive to it. A few didn't really say one way or the other.
Okay, okay.
So it was either radio silence or, yep, we're interested.
I just didn't want to get the criticism as soon as we go back
I
that,
hear you.
okay, with the fact that we swapped this and it's constantly changing and we'll be right back here again.
Right.
It's no different than the sign. If we're gonna set with something, we should decide what it's gonna be and actually stick with it for a longer term. Okay, you guys have the proposal here, what's everybody,
I'm a
take
big,
from
I'm
there.
a big fan of easy. Why is it not 8:30 to 5?
Because I wanted to give that late night available to the public. The opposition that we got from the public was that there was no late hours in the schedule beforehand,
Is there data to support that?
that there was no late hours.
No, that there is a need for late hours.
Yeah.
I mean, is there,
Yeah.
yeah, see, that's what I'm asking. That's what I want to hear.
So I did,
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
where I broke out between 7:30 and 8 a.m. and 8 and 8:30, and then going down further from 4 p.m. to 4:30 in half-hour increments, the amount of transactions that occurred during those half-hour increments, and then the percentage of that based on the total transactions for that period. This is the first quarter of the fiscal year of these 4 years, I'm sorry. So July through September of 2015, 16, 17, and 18, so it's all comparable time framing. And this is straight from the transactions pulled from the system. One thing to keep in mind that these transactions also include transactions that are hand-entered from the mail, which a lot of times is done during the slow time in the morning and in the evening. So that kind of
18
adds a
proje-
little,
18 projections of speculation?
nope, that's,
It's
we
actual?
just finished.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was able to work that in.
Nice. I like data.
Is there any reason why, with Friday being payday or Thursday being a payday, why we're not extending late hours on those days versus having a half a day on Friday?
The reason we chose Tuesday versus Friday is just to coincide with the council meetings. A lot of the employees have to stay here late for the council meetings anyway. And so that was why that day was chosen to be a late day, not Friday.
Is there any way to take the half day Friday and make that a Wednesday and make it Friday a full day? So that way people who do get
There's-
paid can come in and register their vehicles that day versus,
So doing a half-day Wednesday versus Tuesday?
that's just what I've been hearing from the general public is that Thursdays and Fridays are most people's paydays, so they're coming in to pay their taxes,
Yeah.
they're coming in to pay their sewer
I
bills.
think that might be an issue for us, especially on payroll. Sometimes it takes us right through Wednesday to get a payroll done, so, and then to get the counselors to come in,
We have the
just don't
BMV
think having
warrant
a
and
half a
payroll,
day in
yeah.
the middle of the week is gonna help us when payday is on Thursday. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be
Sorry.
hard in some instances.
In your data,
Mhm.
is there any certain day? I don't see, the data,
Is there any certain what?
Yeah.
is there a day
No,
component?
this is just all Monday through Thursday.
But is there any information that we can get based on day,
What's your
not just time?
busiest days during the
Yeah,
week?
I can do that.
Can you-
I don't have
can-
it with me now, but
No,
I
no,
can
by
do
all
that.
means, that's, I would be interested in seeing that to go after the point that Counselor Colby's actually brought, if we've got this, I'm assuming it should be just better thought out for the
Yeah.
council meeting. If there's a certain day that actually comes up, then there should be some of that actually thought in as well.
Sure.
In the Friday piece for me, the one thing that jumped out was just the fact that if I'm thinking, okay, Monday through Friday operation for my town office, if I have to take a day to go take care of registering my car or do a boat or whatever, motorcycle, whatever, I'm gonna take a day off from work. I'm gonna do that so I can go in on Friday morning, get what I gotta get done, so I can have the rest of Friday afternoon for myself to go do what I wanna do. So that's the way I look at it. That's why I think hours of operation for the full day on Friday might be appealing to somebody who maybe works the exact opposite of that. I'm lucky enough to have a day gig. Somebody else might have a night gig, so their morning is the afternoon, and they're getting up to go do that, and they want to roll in here at 4:30 and register their vehicle before they head out. So
We did look at a number of the communities in the area too, and aside from Freeport, who has the same 4-day schedule that we have right now, none of them have night hours. Don't quote me on that. I don't have it up in front of me now, but I want to say a majority of them were done between 4:30 and 5, Monday through Friday.
Yeah, there are a few that actually do it, but
Yeah.
I know in Lewiston's case, they did the same thing that you're trying to be sensitive to, is the fact is we have 8 to 4:30, but there's also staff is there 15 minutes before and after, so you don't have the overtime bump, because somebody coming through the door at 6, you're still going to wait on them.
We tried to build that in as well, yeah.
Right. I think the one thing that I'd like to see before we actually speak to it more would be if there's a day trend to be able to substantiate.
One day versus another, yep.
I mean, that's just the number one complaint that I've been hearing is, why wouldn't you have extended hours on Friday? That's when most people are getting paid. That's when they're most apt to come in. You know, if Monday, you know, doesn't really help people if they're trying to do it on payday.
Right, yeah.
So,
I can
More
look
information to
together.
come.
Yeah.
More information to come.
More information.
This is a
to
good
come.
leaping off point, for sure.
Correct.
Anybody have any outright, no, we're gonna stay with 4-day work week?
No, I think it's a good idea to go back to 5 days.
think 5 is
We
fair.
tried this experiment. I don't think it really saved us the money we thought it was going to in terms of energy savings or anything else. So I think it's probably wise to go back to 5 days. It seems to be where the employees and the public want it to be.
I think listening to staff is smart, so I think that it's commendable that you took the time to listen to what the staff concerns were, because I think we have a tough time competing right now as it is to keep good staff. So if this is an edge that we can use to keep those staff happy, that's something we should definitely investigate.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Lydia. Next item?
Under other business, council committee reports.
School committee, Mr. Albert.
Nothing new.
Planning board, I have it here. They had a public hearing for subdivision review application for Crafts on Route 9, 3 house lots subdividing. And a site plan application for Springworks Farms, who's looking to put in 3 new buildings? Two, but it's basically connected and actually expanding their operations there. That said, they went on, set public hearing on the site plan for Springworks and moved into workshop discussing comprehensive plan and recreational marijuana, the survey that's out. There's information that will start to be disseminated from that and available. There's both specific content of comments that were actually shared associated with that, and then there's some, just general questions, statistics. They're going to go down the road of actually sharing the statistics and not the specifics of everybody's specific comments. But there'll be more on that as well as we work towards the, what we're gonna do after the moratorium's lifted. Water.
Nothing.
LDC, sir.
Nothing new, but in light of Ms. Haggerty bringing up the sign today, I was wondering if maybe we should think about coming back together and talking about that. That might be not something that would be for LDC. I'll follow up with Dawn
Okay.
after and see where we land.
Conservation?
That's right.
I have nothing to report.
Recreation.
Nothing to report.
County, they had their second meeting. You saw the article in the paper. We're issued now is anything that we actually do in our capacity requires 11 votes. So what they're doing is they're flagging items for future discussion to get to the point where we actually have those in there to have those people in play. Key sound bites that were actually registry of probate. That staff salary line item was cut at the last meeting, or identified for potential cut, and as well as their legal budget. So that said, they are progressing. There's a meeting off this week and reconvene week from on the 11th. Be more to come on that. Library, sir.
Yeah, the interlibrary loan program continues to see a lot of strong growth there just over the last few months as they've gotten more and more people signing up on their website and use it. You can directly order books on their website rather than have to contact the librarians anymore. And a lot of people that have never used the interlibrary loan before have now found that and are using that. So they're doing about 3 times the volume they used to. So it's a good program there. It's really taking off.
Did they hire somebody?
What?
Did they hire somebody? I know they were hiring.
Yeah, I believe they did replace their position there. They need to fill.
Thank you, sir. Town manager?
We're working on a sewer improvement brochure to be mailed out to all the registered voters for the upcoming sewer bond. We're just putting the finishing touches on it. Most of it's done, and we just have to work on some rate information. Lisbon Harvest Festival for 2017 is Saturday, October 28th, and you have that information in front of you. And I did go out for the fuel bids, and we locked in for our number 2 heating oil at 2.049 a gallon. The current fixed price, it just expired, is 1.639, so it's up. The propane is almost $1.40. The diesel is a fixed price of 2.079, and the gasoline is rack price plus about 9.5 cents. It's not as attractive as what we've had in the past, but it was the 2 hurricanes that affected the fuel prices. So I will be going out before hurricane season next year.
Thank you. I was going to ask. I know we talked about this last time, so we're going to position ourselves to be able to do that for this time, so we're not this time next year.
It'll still be effective the same time, but I'm just gonna go out earlier.
Right, right. Get a more favorable, yeah.
How long are we actually obligated to actually purchase at these prices?
This is for a year.
So it is good for a year, but we can lock in earlier.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so I would empower you to be able to do so, is be looking at in the March timeframe, so if, as soon as this actually expires, that we actually get in there, so.
I look back at the last 3 years when I went out to bid. Last year it was in August, and 2 previous years it was in October. And I can remember, I think it was 2 years ago was when the price really was dropping, and it kept dropping, and that's why I waited and went out in October.
Okay.
So you just never know.
Right.
No, for sure.
And I think this would have been a lot more attractive if it wasn't for those 2 hurricanes.
Correct.
but
Correct.
It is what it is.
It's like the stock market, you never know what's gonna go up and down.
Why I know, and
Right, well, the short version is if it runs from October to October, you can lock in at any time
That's
with
right.
setting it.
Yep. and I'll watch it. And
Right.
That's all I have.
Either of you guys want to talk on Lisbon EMS?
Sure, I'm happy to give an update. I think Mark can chime in too. So we did do the follow-up meeting to our workshop, and we were able to go ahead and talk about, we had talked about 3 different options. Actually, it looked like, I think it was 4 all said and done, but. So the first one was to work with the, and just kind of present the options that we talked about. We put everything on the table to discuss what was, what would be out there. And ultimately, it was EMS, as it sits right now, operating as they are operating with their current leadership structure. The only difference would be they put an ask out for X amount of dollars from the town for assistance because of some of the unforeseen circumstances regarding payroll that sapped their operating cash. So they would come to us for that ask, and in turn we would have staff, whether it's counselors or the finance director or a mix of those folks in on their board if they were to make that ask so that they could continue to operate. That was the first presentation. We also talked about some of the challenges that they had regarding their cash flow and some of the bigger capital improvements, such as buying a new ambulance they had on the horizon, because one of their ambulances is close to retirement. I think they were hoping to scrap by next year, and then the other one has got I think about maybe 7 years left of the service. So we floated the idea of if the town of Lisbon, rather than give a cash amount, was to purchase an ambulance outright and then lease it to Lisbon Emergency, if that would help. And we kind of threw that around a little bit to see what, if anything. They weren't prepared for us to kind of put that in play, so he said he wanted to kind of crunch numbers and see where they would land and how they could get creative. It may not have an impact on how they're still having to deal with some payroll challenges, but it could allow them to free up some cash they were using for capital funding towards that ambulance and maybe slide that in other parts of their budget. So that was one. 2 was a combination of Lisbon Emergency coming under the fire department's umbrella here with the town. Obviously, there was some pretty big cost associated with that. Diane was good enough to go ahead and talk about some of the experiences she's had previously in other communities that she's been involved in this sort of environment, in this sort of situation and challenge. And then we had some experts from all over that were good enough to come to the workshop and give us their input on how it could be successful, but what traditionally happens is when an emergency department comes under a fire department's umbrella, the funding usually gets split out about 85-15. 85% of the budget going to the fire department, 15 to the EMS services. When you break that down from a training perspective, it usually means that the quality of the EMS service that you're going to have is going to suffer because the training dollars just aren't there. So that was very top-level stuff that we talked about. And finally was talking about an RFP to go out and farm this out to see if there would be another service in the event that Lisbon Emergency went away. What could we look at possibly getting as a replacement? And we wanted to compare apples to apples. Right now we have a service in town that can respond, and right now we want to see how can we offer the same services and what that would cost us. So Diane and Rick, was that his name? Yeah, I couldn't remember Rick's last name. It was with United, right?
He's with Atlantic Partners.
Atlantic Partners, sorry. They were going to get together and get an RFP put together that was apples to apples for Lisbon Emergency, actually having a unit right here in Lisbon. And then kind of see if we got anything back from anybody and see what that cost would look like. We're going to reconvene on the 25th of this month and see what we've gotten for information back. Start having some more discussions and hopefully driving towards what the next steps will look like. But, Mark, I know I stole your thunder there. You got anything you want to throw in?
No, I think you covered pretty much everything there.
Good, buddy. Good. Yep. You make. Miriam makes a great point. That is an option that was pointed out very clearly. We can do nothing. We're not obligated as a community to provide any sort of emergency services. However, in not doing that, taking that exact approach and doing nothing, it will fall on our fire department and our first responders in the police department to pick up that area. So we'll see an increase in calls and budgeting there.
And I don't believe the fire department can do actual transportation, so they
can't.
provide first aid when they get there, but you have to wait for an ambulance to come from a hospital in Lewiston or Brunswick, so it's a big, dangerous situation for anyone. If you have a heart attack and you add an extra 20, 30 minutes of travel time to get here, I think you're putting people's lives at risk there.
So comparing, just going back to what we talked about, which is gives the community members with the RFP a chance to figure out what services they want to pay for, what we're getting right now, or do they want to accept a different rate of service at a lower level.
Going back to Rick's comment from the workshop, I thought there was no liability.
There is no liability.
But the issue that we're actually having there is the fact is you're putting a price tag on somebody's life.
Exactly. So it's the perception of.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Anything else on that?
Remember too, that there's some lawyer that can always find a back door.
Oh.
Because we would have potential for legal action.
There's no legal liability when a town is not required by state law to provide that type of service.
They would find a way.
They can't if there's no.
At the end of the day, I think I understand where you're coming from. but
People are
we're-
going to
yeah.
sue in that regard, but
There's always somebody that's willing to try to push the
I just
boundaries.
don't want false information being portrayed out there
No,
that
I-
that's the case.
I thank you for the update.
It's a choice we have. We can decide to
Exactly.
do nothing and leave it that way, and there are plenty of towns that do that, but,
Please feel free to come out on the 25th. Anybody in the community who has a concern, or if you can't make it out on the 25th of October, here, I think we're 6:30 p.m. right here in this room on the 25th. If you can't make it in, feel free to email or call myself or Counselor Lunt. We'd be more than happy to hear what you have to say and bring your opinion and your point of view to the meeting on the 25th.
We got called for mutual aid to United, and another community also got called for mutual aid to United because United didn't have any crews for their ambulances. So it works both ways.
Right.
We get mutual aid from them, but sometimes we have to mutual aid them. And if they don't have any physical crews on their ambulances, they can have all the ambulances in the world. It's just a fact that has to be looked at.
Point that I like to leave in that regard is the reason we're actually beating this topic and we're trying to educate as best we can whenever we can is that we need to get back to Lisbon EMS one way or the other because their decision is got a sunset of the December 31st date. So they're looking for commitment. So we are exploring all options. So if you guys have an opinion, you know somebody that actually does, make sure to get it to the council, because we are actively trying to solicit as much as we can on this topic right now. Thank you. Twyla.
Okay, the next item is to announce candidates night. It will be October the 17th at your next meeting. It starts at 6 to 7. It is for contested races only, and the contested races would be for the school committee and for the water commission. So after the candidates have answered our 5 questions, then we'll open it up to whatever time we have left for questions from the audience.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item?
Is audience participation for new items.
Don Fellows from
You knew he was going to say it.
The other side of
Savage
town.
Street. Well, it says to say that here.
Yes.
Couple of things, and I just, oh, there it is. In response to the marijuana topic that came up earlier, we were really encouraged in the planning board in that we got 429 responses on the Survey Monkey and 5 paper submissions. All of that's being compiled and worked on. We do have the comments, as Alan mentioned, and our 2 planners, Amanda and Ben, are working together to make some sense for us. Secondly, you will be seeing I think, if the lawyer treats us nicely, you'll be seeing something on site plan review coming before you shortly. Planning board passed it the other day, and I keep trying to read this flyer, which I don't have a hard copy of, but on Thursday, October 12th, at 7 p.m. in this room of the town office, the planning board will be having the first workshop to discuss updating Lisbon's comprehensive plan. And as everybody knows, the comprehensive plan is a state-mandated document that we have to update periodically. Our goal this year with that comprehensive plan is to make it more relevant to the town than it has been in the past, and to make it more than just some pieces of paper that we put on the shelf. With that in mind, the town-wide planning document guides committees and staff on land use, infrastructure, economic development, recreation, and other town issues based on the community's vision and input. And we really need some vision and input. That means we need some residents to show up that night, to come here and to be a part of it. Questions we're going to discuss that night are, how has Lisbon changed in the last 10 or more years? What changes do we think we'll see ahead? What are the important themes or ideas for Lisbon, and what topics should be discussed at future meetings? So those are the things, and I don't know if this is on the website yet for the town, but I hope that it gets there pretty soon if it's not. And so that's my thing. I would, again, like to get participation out there so we can, so we have more than 5 or 6 people show up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
What's the date and time again?
All right, 7 p.m. on October 12th.
October 12th, 7 p.m.
That's a Thursday. Planning board meeting will be prior to that and short, so we'll be here.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Sure. No, no. They adjourned to workshop, and it was one of the other topics that was actually on their agenda. No relation whatsoever. No.
Lettuce.
It's so weird because everyone says to me, they're growing marijuana over there. They gotta be. I'm like, no, they're not. I've actually asked them.
They'll give you a tour. You can go over there and talk to them. I think it's on Thursdays. They'll,
Yeah.
certain time, they'll take you around. They'll show you the whole place.
No.
Lettuce.
Thank you for the opportunity to clarify, because
It's a
that
different
went out
kind
on Public Access Channel 7 too, so I don't want somebody else drawing that.
I know.
No,
I know.
no relation.
My house.
Thank you.
Yeah, they've got a whole crazy thing in there with fish going around in the little trays.
It's
and
quite, it's
stuff,
quite a
yeah.
scene over there if you've never seen what's going on over there.
Pretty
It's
cool.
Pretty wild
Chicken.
stuff.
Chickens.
Yep.
Focus on the chickens in the driveway, people. Yeah.
Fox and
Yes.
chickens.
Yes.
That's how it works. There are no appointments.
Next item is Counselor Communications.
There you go.
Chris driving them, yeah.
I'll drive the bus on this side. I'm not afraid.
Anybody got anything?
Keep us on to nothing. No.
Moving
Wait,
right
no.
along.
Council Communications, right?
Yes.
How about them Greyhounds? They won again this
Roll
week.
hounds. Roll
Oh,
hounds.
Lisbon. There's no executive session? I make the motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Oh no, he's doing a one. Hey, Rick. I looked up halfway
Right.
through it, I said, hey, yo, but they all are
Hippie
cooking,
lettuce,
'cause they're so
my,
big.
brother-in-law would say.
Oh, no, I'm just, yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, it's back. That blind spot is gone. It's much better. Yeah.
I'm trying to quasi do something.